Right, so today what we're going to do, I did tease this in my last video. If you haven't seen my previous video talking about everything that I read last month, do so. It's kind of waning on the view side of things, so go over and watch that video and then go watch this one. It will not give you any spoilers on the book that I'm talking about today, which is, of course, Discovery by J.A.J. Minton. I'll talk about this in just a sec, but before I talk about this, if you haven't seen my video from yesterday, go do it. What I do want to say, first of all the links because this is an independently published book, all the links to get your hands on this, which I highly recommend you do, because I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed this book. Go. All the links to be able to pick this one up will be in the description, and also a link to the Talking Story YouTube channel, which is the channel run by John and Jacob Minton, with John's wife Amy popping in for sporadic appearances. I found their channel in the latter half of last year, and I've been hooked. I've only tried a YouTuber's book once before, and that was with Jazza with his book, and I enjoyed that. I thought there were a few like pacing hiccups with that, but also that is way more in my wheelhouse of kind of like science fiction fantasy stuff and more action heavy. This is completely out of my wheelhouse. I don't think I've ever read something that's like eldritch horror kind of science fiction. And I definitely haven't read a First Contact story, and this is kind of a mixture of the two. It's kind of first contact with an alien that's been living at the bottom of the ocean for eons. And yeah, that's basically but what if that alien was also an eldritch kind of H.P. Lovecraft kind of monster, or larger than life kind of unfathomable creature. And there's this kind of idea that thing is, it's asleep. It's been asleep at the bottom of the ocean for years and years and years, and if it does wake up, all shit's gonna hit the fan, basically. The first thing that I noticed, and it's from the first page, the Talking Story YouTube channel kind of is, for the most part, family friendly, right? This book is 100% not, from the off, and it isn't just about your kind of introductory character of Manny DiMartini, kind of him being a bit of a potty mouth. It's not just that. There are deeper themes of like mental health. There are deeper themes of there is a character in this who witnesses their grandmother get violently killed. And I don't know why I'm laughing at that, but witnesses one of their family members be violently killed, and then is suffering with illness due to that, and then gets sold to his great granddad, who also happens to be who also seems to be a member of a certain group that was run by an Austrian painter in Germany in the 1930s. You've got that kind of things, and that yeah, there's a lot of that in this, and it's great. I'm really bad at describing stuff like this. But essentially what this is a complete departure from anything and everything that I've kind of read or digested in the past. I don't think this is the kind of story where if I wasn't a fan of the YouTube channel that did write this, if I wasn't kind of on kind of a bit of a journey myself of trying to ingest different forms of media and different things that I wouldn't normally be into initially, or wouldn't have been into like 2-3 years ago even. This is the kind of thing I would have completely like not even given a second thought. If I would have seen this in like a Tesco or like you know, place where you see books if you are not a book reader, like the book section of your local supermarket. That is where I was seeing books before I got into like, before I started getting into reading with The Witcher almost 2 years ago. And I've been kind of really enjoying this journey that I've been going on ever since. And this is kind of a turning point for me where I'm like, maybe I don't even need to confine myself into just fantasy stuff or just science fiction stuff. This is maybe a turning point for me saying, maybe I should look at stuff that is more, and I don't even want to say grounded, because as much as this book is very grounded, right? And as much as there is like cosmic beings, and there is like people with tentacles, and there is like someone who's made children that are also fish people, you know, as much as there is stuff like that, the majority of this book is very much about a guy writing a diary about how his social anxiety is affecting him, and you know, taking that into, you know, having PTSD, and then putting that into a world where, you know, essentially the apocalypse is here, and it's arrived, and you're going through the lens of someone who already has experienced massive amounts of trauma, and we're not really revealed the extent of that trauma until the end of the book. And it's insane, and also this book has had an ability with me where even with the things that are a massive, like, even the things that are kind of larger in life, the book does have a massive ability of being able to, like I said, like I mentioned in my video yesterday, giving you a peek at the world outside your window. This book does that, but it also is like, it's a peek at history and it's not necessarily what the book's about, but just getting these reminders of how kind of terrible people are throughout their history. And that kind of was what hit me. And then you do have all this cosmic horror stuff on top of it, which doesn't really come to a head until the very, very end of the book. And I'm really interested to pick up a second one of these, or a sequel, to see what happens next. Obviously, more experienced book reviewers or book, channels are going to talk about the prose in this. They are going to talk about like how it's written and stuff. I don't want to say that I don't care about that stuff, but that's not where I am in my reading journey. Essentially, if a book elicits a emotional response from me, I take that as more of a win than like similes and metaphors and things, being written at like the highest level. And as people have taught of people that are authors themselves, people that are more educated in that field than I am, have kind of said this book in that regard is great as well, especially for a debut novel. It's great in that regard as well. But in terms of the like getting you to feel an emotion and eliciting a response that the author wants you to get, and maybe that is from the prose, but also I think it's just a thing of the book wanted me to feel a certain way, and I felt that way. And, I can't really give a better compliment than the vision that the author wanted to, or the emotion that the author would have wanted to elicit, was the emotion that I got. That is kind of the biggest compliment that I can give, is like, when the book wanted me to laugh, I laughed. When the book wanted me to, when I was, an emotional moment, there was never a point where an emotional moment happened and I was like, oh, I wish that hit me harder, or I wish that was, handled in a better way. Everything in this feels like it's supposed to, if that makes sense. I've tried to keep this video relatively spoiler light, or spoiler free entirely, because I really want people to pick this one up. So if you haven't read Discovery yet, which I'm pretty sure a lot of people haven't, because Talking Story as a YouTube channel is still very small. I mean, that's not a bad thing. Look at my numbers, tiny. But also, I do think they deserve a whole lot of love, but also this book deserves so much love. It should be, heralded. I don't want to, put too much into it, but what I will say about this is definitely the best read for me this year. Possibly one of my favourite reads that I've gotten to since starting this. And, that's, I haven't read a huge amount, but I've read a fair bit. And, when you're going up against people like Brandon Sanderson and Dan Abnett and Andre, what's his fucking name? Andrzej Sapkowski. Going up against names like that, your debut novel, and, you know, this is up there with, like, I would definitely put this as, like, a top 5 read for me of all time. So yeah, and maybe that is because I haven't read a whole lot, but, you know, I don't think this is going to be knocked out of my top 5 list for a very long time. I will say that. Anyways, hopefully you enjoyed this video. All the links are downstairs. My Instagram, which I don't really use anymore, but the Talking Story YouTube channel, and a link to go get your hands on Discovery yourselves. It's a book that I will be championing whenever I can. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. I will see you guys in the next one. Hopefully you enjoyed. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, all that lovely good stuff. Let me know in the comments below if you have read Discovery. Let me know your thoughts on it. See you guys in the next one. Peace.